Morning everybody, it is Monday the 10th of October and you are watching Sportuccino. I am Richard Parr, your host every single weekday morning, Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. on Facebook Live, facebook.com/Sportuccino. You can also join in the conversation on Twitter with the hashtag Sportuccino. It's been a really busy weekend of sport, so let's start the show with your morning headlines. Wales draw for a second game in a row, this time 1-1 with Georgia, while the Republic of Ireland won 3-1 in Moldova in World Cup qualifying. In Group G, Italy needed a late goal to beat Macedonia 3-2, while Spain won 2-0 in Albania. Nico Rosberg extended his lead at the top of the Drivers' Championship by winning the Japanese Grand Prix, and Andy Murray claimed his fifth singles title of the year by winning the China Open. Well, Nico Rosberg won the Japanese Grand Prix, but what did you think of Lewis Hamilton's antics in the press conference before the race began? When he was on Twitter, he was on Snapchat. What did you think of that behaviour? Some journalists felt it was really unprofessional. Hamilton has since said he thinks that the format of press conferences, certainly in the pre-race, should change, and they should be about what the fans want. He wants people like you to be involved on Twitter, on Facebook, on Snapchat, asking the questions, and that the format needs to change, and it hasn't changed in well over 10 years. What do you think about that? Give me your thoughts on hashtag Sportuccino and also on the comments section of this Facebook Live. We are live. It is Monday. I'm so excited to have you on the show this morning. Well, today's show is brought to you by Balmont Associates. Balmont Associates are a specialist recruitment-to-recruitment company based in Brighton and London, which helps other recruitment agencies grow. They're also sports enthusiasts, so you can see them at Brighton and Hove Albion's Amex Stadium and also West Ham's Olympic Park. You can learn more about them at balmontassociates.com. Thanks to them for sponsoring today's show. If you would like to sponsor the show, all you've got to do is go to sportsdesk@sportuccino.com to send us an email. That email address one more time, sportsdesk@sportuccino.com. So there's so much going on in the world of sport. We've got lots of different matches in international football going on right now. As I mentioned in the headlines, Wales drew, Ireland won, Italy and Spain were both winners. Tonight it's the Netherlands versus France, lots of big matches, and also not just in Europe, across the world. So I decided to get on the leading expert on football from Africa, Gary Al-Smith. He is on audio with us today via Skype. Gary Al-Smith from Ghana, live on Sportuccino. Gary, welcome to Sportuccino.
Hey, great to be on the show. Big fan of it, and it's growing periods. And I must say that some of the interviews you've lined up have been very, very, very interesting. And I couldn't wait all these weeks to be on.
Oh, well, we're delighted to have you. Well, Gary, so much football going on over the weekend. Was there one game in particular that you enjoyed the most?
Well, there was a game. I think it probably was in the Italy versus Spain game. I think that was quite a good one. I mean, I thought that Spain will be able to break the hoodoo of being able to beat Italy for the first time, at least at this level, but it didn't happen, And I thought that all the headlines surrounding it also made it very interesting with the Italian coach Ventura choosing to sideline Graziano Pelle for what he thought was a disrespectful action. I thought it was a bit of an overreaction because, I mean, if a player doesn't shake your hand, I don't think that it should, warrant such comments like Ventura said. He said the player disrespected the jersey and disrespected the country. I think that was a bit too much, really.
You'd be disappointed if a player wasn't angry when they were substituted. You'd be disappointed if they didn't have that kind of aggression, wouldn't you?
Because we've seen it time and again. I mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was about Cristiano Ronaldo and how unhappy he was when Zinedine Zidane substituted him. But Zidane said in the post-match press conference that, I mean, he didn't. Apparently, some outlets had said that Cristiano had used the F word on him. He said he didn't hear it. And he said, in any case, if Cristiano was unhappy at being substituted, it just showed aggression and a hunger to play. And that's what he expects from all his players. We've seen it in so many countries. I mean, even here in Africa, you get it all the time at club and country level. And I think that is a bit of an overreaction, considering that Italy don't have a lot of options up front. Yes, Cristiano Pele may be playing in China, but he still remains one of the most potent options Italy have up front. And I think that in the long term, they might regret it as more and more qualifiers and internationals come around.
We saw something similar with Swansea with Francesco Guidolin before he got sacked, when he substituted Neil Taylor in the first half. Now, you can really understand if you're going to get substituted in the first half that you'd be pretty upset about that. But let's talk a little bit more about Italy. They left it pretty late yesterday, winning 3-2 against Macedonia. They needed Ciro Immobile to win that. But Spain were looking good. Spain had that 2-0 win against Albania. And we spoke to Andy Bodfish on Friday, the Eurosport commentator, and he felt that Albania could cause a few troubles for Spain and Italy. Do you still expect Italy and Spain, though, to comfortably go through this group?
Yes, I do. I mean, Albania can be a bit of a banana peel, but I think that the quality in Spain and Italy at the moment is a bit too much. I mean, people are going to point out that, both teams have had a change in coaches and so on. But if you saw the way Italy are playing, it's like they're playing the same way. They're not tinkering with a lot of things. It's just an admission that Italy don't have the kind of quality they had 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. And so it will be foolhardy. And on that note, I agree with Ventura. I mean, just do what you do and change personnel when absolutely needed, or when you get a player who is a step above the average or what you have in the team at the moment. But like we saw in Spain versus Italy, the kind of quality both teams showed and how the game finished in terms of the results is going to play out in the rest of the group. Italy punished Spain for a mistake. Don't forget that there were 8 minutes left when Sergio Ramos put his foot in it. Spain led 1-0. They were on course to become the first team to win in Italy for 17 years, and the only side ever to defeat them there in a World Cup qualifier. When he stepped across there, it was late in Turin, and so was Sergio Ramos as well. The referee didn't give the penalty, his assistant did, and rightly so. Moments like that, Sergio Ramos is prone to make 1 or 2 mistakes, but I don't think he's going to make too many of them in a competitive group like they have. Again, just to sum up and not to belabor the point, Spain and Italy to go through comfortably.
Well, it's probably a bit closer in the group. I think it's Group D with Wales. And Wales had another draw, this time against Georgia. They were obviously got as far as the semi-finals in the Euros. But now have drawn their last 2 matches. Has the pressure of now going into matches as favourites, is that hurting them? Are they suffering with that?
Well, I don't think it's pressure really. I mean, I just think that it's the classic. If it was in a league, would have said the second season syndrome, where like Leicester City, you come, you are surprised, but then in the second time of asking, everybody has enough tapes to analyze. You become a bit less unpredictable, so we know what to expect from you. And from a country like Wales, where you can't say you can select 2 starting 11s to be able to tinker things or freshen things up all the time, you know that Gareth Bale is the key man, so and so is the key man. And so you know a bit of what to expect. And Georgia, even though they are ranked 137 in the world, were able to do that sufficiently to come from behind to draw 1-1 at the Cardiff Stadium, And I think we can take a cue from what the Wales manager Chris Coleman said. He was confident in his side being able to recover in what he called a blip, and I just think that is what it was. Anything else would be an overreaction. And I was pretty liking his comments. He said that they had a little slap around the back of the head to say, it's not all plain sailing after the magic of the Euros. It's not he's also said that it's not the end of the world and that there's a lot to play for it's only 3 games in. And I think that mentality should be what should be encouraged among the Welsh nation, that yes, the magic of the years is there, but in the real world, people are going to get up to you. They are going to know the way you play, your tactics, your little secrets, and that it is at times like these that people like Chris Coleman should earn their salaries. Let's not forget, Wales are unbeaten after 3 matches. They are still third in Group D, 2 points behind Serbia, who are the leaders, and Republic of Ireland. And if you look at the games that are coming, it's not very, very bad. They face both teams, that Serbia and Republic of Ireland, at home in November and in March. So there's plenty of time to figure things out. And I think that the next 2 games are great games. Wales can expect to be there or thereabouts. So it's a nice little test for them.
And of course, Wales were without Ramsey yesterday. They were without Joe Allen. Joe Allen scored that screamer against Austria, of course, in that 2-2 draw on Thursday night. Got a question here on the Facebook. Remember, if you've got any comments, if you've got any thoughts about football or any of the top sports stories, you can put them in the comment section on our live show, facebook.com/Sportuccino, or on Twitter, #Sportuccino. We'd love to hear from you. Question here from Andrew Binner for you, Gary, is it time for Bale to lead Real's attack?
Oh, wow. That's a question I reckon you should put to Cristiano Ronaldo first. Let's see what he thinks about that.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be too pleased with that. And, you know, they do have striking options through the middle as well, don't they? They've got Benzema, who is starting to come back into form, and they've also got Morata as well.
Yeah, but you know, the answer to that question may be more political than tactical, because depending on the way the politics play out at Real Madrid, somebody in power may just decide that, you know what, let's start the post-Cristiano Ronaldo era and let's make this the Gareth Bale era, where we make him the central figure and start building the team around him. But I suspect that we haven't reached that point, because Ronaldo brings in the bucks far more than Gareth Bale. That, I mean, he does not have the star power, he does not have the off the field razzmatazz that is big enough for Real Madrid. Yes, he's a good football player, but can they market him as much as Cristiano Ronaldo is able to do for them? Can he market himself that much to be able to match his on-field genius? And I think that is going to be a key reason why my answer to that question by Binner will be no.
Well, it's all very interesting. Of course, Real Madrid are one of the most political clubs in the world. Let's stay with World Cup qualifiers, but let's move to your home continent, Africa. You had some World Cup qualifiers over the weekend. Nigeria were winners, goals from Iwobi and Kelechi Iheanacho. What were the other standout games over the weekend from Africa in the World Cup qualifiers, Gary?
Well, I think that that Nigeria result was a standout because on paper you would expect that Nigeria will beat Zambia any day. But the circumstances leading to the match might mean that it wasn't to be so cut and dried. The circumstances being that even as much as early as Wednesday, Nigeria were not sure whether they could even fly out to Zambia in the first place. They had problems with money, as is often the case in most African federations. The Nigerian FA president had a press conference where he said that, you know, the federal government had not made money available for them, and so they did not know where they were going to get money to fly out. But all is well that ends well. Finally, they were able to charter a flight from Nigeria to Ndola in northern Zambia, and a 145-seater plane. Now they have so much space that they were able to give 20 journalists free seats on the flight as well.
Oh, wow.
And so they were able to go with a good mentality. But for Zambia, they are going through not a crisis, but they are going through a transitioning period. After the magic of winning the African Cup in 2012, they did not prepare for a new generation. So the conveyor belt did not do its job well, meaning that they were caught by surprise and they've not been able to, you know, replace their talent in key areas as well. So you had an aging but experienced Collins Mbasuma, who has become one of the leading and most prolific, and in the history of the South African Premier League has scored more goals than any other person there. One of the top 5 at the moment now, leading the attack. He's a good player, big. Think of Akinfewa. That's how big Collins Mbesuma is. Very huge, and he's able to lead the line. But he's aging, and his pace is not what it used to be anymore. But Nigeria's very, very English-looking attack did the job. Iwobi and Kelechi Iheanacho, and also our man from Wakpo, Igalo, are leading are leading Nigeria's line, and they are looking pretty slick and pretty good. If you look at Moses Simon, Ahmed Musa was even on the bench. He didn't start on in the game as well. So Nigeria look good, and if they are able to sort out their politics, they are going to do well. Plus, their coach is different this time. Gernot Raw has taken a very, very good approach. Most Nigerian coaches, when they come in, get too embroiled in the politics. They allow the politics to overwhelm them. But he has taken the back seat, and looks like he's focused on getting the job done. And I think that's going to stand them in good stead in their group as well, because it's not easy in Nigeria at any point in time in terms of the politics. Elsewhere, though, Egypt defeated Congo 2-1 in Brazzaville in Group E. Now, this result is significant for a couple of reasons. Traveling away in Africa is never easy. That's one. For Egypt to have gone, and the way they did was also very, very good. They were actually behind, but came back to be able to win in Congo. That is a big, big deal as well. And in this group, this result is going to be key because it includes Ghana and Uganda. Ghana were only able to draw on Friday against Uganda, and there's so much talk about how it may be Egypt's year to make a first World Cup appearance since 1990. Now, Ghana and Egypt meet in Cairo on the 15th of November in what could well be the decider, because if Egypt are able to win in Alexandria, that will be 6 points. And in a group like this, it's going to be massive. However, a point should be made that Uganda may be the kingmakers in this group. It is they who may be able to decide who goes to Russia or not. Let's not forget that Uganda have just qualified for their First Nations Cup since 1978. They are on a very, very good run of form in terms of momentum, and they are keeping it going. For them, getting a draw in Ghana, who are, on a normal day seen as one of the top 3 African nations, is a huge deal. So that's the way it's looking in Group E. In Group A, Tunisia started on a flyer, getting a 2-0 win over Guinea. A huge win for them in Monastir, because it means that in this group, things are wide open as well. I mean,
Gary, we're going to have to go in just a moment. But what I wanted to know is, you got Tunisia winning there, but also next week we've got the draw for the Africa Cup of Nations. Which team is looking strongest? Who would you say right now is looking the strongest to lift the crown when it starts in January?
Well, the Africa Cup of Nations is always deceptive before the draw and after the draw. That's always the way it is. But there are other 2 teams in Group B. Algeria, featuring, Leicester Riyad Mahrez and Islam Slimani. You have to make them the standout favourites to be able to do that. But we said the same thing about them before the last African Cup of Nations, and they didn't even get to, the final, as it were. Cameroon played out a 1-1 draw with Algeria as well, meaning that Algeria can be beaten. If you look at this Cameroonian team that didn't have a lot of preparation, I think that it makes it all intriguing that we cannot predict the African Cup of Nations and the way it's going to go this time. I think the biggest point going into the draw is that will Gabon be able to give us an atmosphere, because I have a feeling that it's going to have a big effect on the way the African Cup of Nations goes. For anybody who is new to it, Gabon had elections on August the 27th, and they've been having political tensions since then. Gabon have been at pains to assure everybody that they'll be able to host a good African Cup of Nations, but hey, it's up there, and we have no idea what the state of Gabon is in terms of infrastructure, in terms of whether democratically they are in a good state to be able to provide security and all. But on the football field, I tip Algeria to be one of the favorites. I'll also tip Ghana there as well. I'll tip, unfortunately, Nigeria is not at the African Cup of Nations, but Egypt seems to be coming on a resurgence and we should look out for them as well.
Yeah, they're definitely resurging, and they had a few years where they weren't performing as well. Gary, it's been so great to get all of your thoughts. It's great to have such expertise coming from the African continent, and in particular, your dog got a bit excited when you started talking about African football as well. So clearly, he's a big fan as well.
Yes, indeed. I'm also very, very, very delighted to have been on the show. Hopefully, I'll be on many, many more times.
We look forward to it, Gary. Gary, thank you so much. Gary L. Smith, sports journalist from Africa, based in Ghana. Thank you so much for your time today. Gary Al Smith there, live on Sportuccino. Now, Sportuccino is also an audio podcast. You may be listening to it right now on iTunes, and as well as being on Facebook Live. And I would love it if you would give us a rating and review. It's something which is really important. It helps boost up the show. And for days like today where we couldn't actually get Gary on video and it was as audio, it's a perfect way. It's the perfect way to listen to Sportuccino. And to give me that rating and review, ideally 5 stars, come on, be nice people, and a nice review, ideally. But also if you do have any feedback or comments, then this is the place to do it. But sometimes it's not that easy to find out where exactly you can make that rating and review. So I've made you a cool little video to find out how you can do that exactly. Well, that is it. That is how you can check out Sportuccino on iTunes. Please rate and review it. So let me tell you that our poll today on the Twitter page is: who will be the 2016 F1 World Champion? Will it be Nico Rosberg, that's at Nico_Rosberg, or will it be Lewis Hamilton? Nico Rosberg or Lewis Hamilton. Of course, Nico Rosberg won the Japanese Grand Prix on Sunday, extending his lead to 33 points. There's only a handful of races left. I think they're in the US next, and it looks like Nico Rosberg could be winning his first ever world title. The Mercedes pair. Mercedes have already won the Constructors' Championship. So the question again, one more time, is: who will be the 2016 Formula One World Champion? Will it be Nico Rosberg or will it be Lewis Hamilton? We'd love to get your thoughts on the Facebook page. Let us know what you think. Let us know on #Sportuccino. We'd love to get you involved on the show to get your views. Will it be Hamilton? Will it be Rosberg? What did you think of Hamilton's behaviour? Should press conferences for Formula One be treated in a different way? And maybe not just Formula One, in all different types of sport. Why does it need to be the same journalists going to the same press conferences? Why can't they be streamed live on the internet, or on Sky, or on BT, or wherever, and have the questions from the fans? Would that be a more interactive way of doing sports journalism? Tell me what you think at Sportuccino on Twitter and on this Facebook page below. That's what I'd like to know. We've got a comment here. Gareth Messenger says, Rosberg to win the title. He deserves it. Thank you for joining in the conversation, Gareth. Remember, we love to get you involved on the show. That is today's poll. All right, one of the things we like to do on this show is talk about health and nutrition, and I'm going to give you a quick product review because we're running out of time, and I mentioned it last week, but what I have every morning now is Nairn's gluten-free porridge. So as we mentioned last week, I've gone gluten and dairy free, and because of that I try and have gluten-free porridge every single morning. So let's just read a little bit about what Nairn say. So they say they've created a range of delicious gluten-free oaty food everyone can enjoy. And they don't contain gluten but can be contaminated by other grains. But their gluten-free oats are farmed and milled separately to ensure they remain free from contamination. They're not only naturally nutritious, but they're high in fiber and full of complex carbohydrates. Now, one of the main reasons I'm talking about this is because it's a product I personally use, but it's also really tasty. There's other gluten-free porridges on the market. You can get them from Tesco, you can get the own brands from Asda, and they're pretty good, but these are really, really good. You can get them from most health stores. You can get them from Tesco as well. They're about between £2, £2.50, depending where you buy. I reckon you get maybe 10 servings from it, and you just mix it with, you can do milk, but again I've gone dairy free, so you can do it with almond milk or you can do it with soya milk. I don't really like it with soya milk personally. I prefer with almond milk or maybe coconut milk, and it's really easy. You can either cook it on the hob or you can do it in the microwave. Put it in there for 2 minutes, stir it, put it in for another minute or so, and you're good to go. And it gives you that energy. It's clean, it's healthy, and it's really good for you. And for any of you who listen to my podcast, The Best in the World with Richard Parr, which is out every Wednesday, where we talk to Olympic champions, world champions, former world number ones, and former world record holders to find out what they do differently. I had Liz McColgan, you may remember her, the 10,000 meters world champion from 1991, former multi-time marathon winner. She said she would take porridge everywhere she would go in the world, because even if she knew there was food which wouldn't be good for her or they didn't have exactly what she needed, by having porridge with her all the time, she made sure she got the right type of energy and nutrition in her body ready to race across the globe. So porridge is a really healthy food. It's even more healthy when it is gluten-free, and this one is really tasty and nutritious. So it's Nairn's gluten-free Scottish porridge oats. That's Nairn's gluten-free Scottish porridge oats. If there's any foods that you particularly like, or any kind of food or tech or anything related to sport which you'd like me to talk about on Sportuccino, send us a message at Sportuccino on Twitter, in the Facebook page below. I would love to hear from you. All right, just before we go, a reminder that the poll is who will be the Formula One 2016 World Champion, Nico Rosberg or Lewis Hamilton. On today's show, we've been talking about the international football matches with Gary Al-Smith. Tomorrow morning on Sportuccino, we will be discussing the WWE pay-per-view No Mercy. It happened late Sunday night. I haven't even had a moment to watch it yet. I'll be watching it this afternoon and we'll be reviewing it to see which matches we liked and which ones we didn't. And in fact, I believe that the main event, certainly this was announced just before it started, this may have changed, the main event between John Cena, Dean Ambrose and the champion AJ Styles was moved to the beginning of the show, so it wouldn't clash with the presidential debate. We'll be discussing that and a lot more tomorrow, as well as England's next international fixture on Tuesday. But for now, have a great Monday morning, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 8.